I the next series made a linear sense, at least. They showed Seth Rollins previously attacking Rey Mysterio, pushing his eye into the corner of the stairs. A very visceral kind of thing, very brutal. And you can see signs of, without a crowd to react to regular spots, they're having to do stuff that plays well in replays and creates a visceral connection independent of somebody reacting to it from the outside. I think that's actually a good move. And obviously, pushing Rey Mysterio's eye is a brutal, brutal thing. Seth comes out in a suit. And looks really good. They're really finding a way to sort of create this main event look for Seth. It sounds crazy because he's been main event on and off for years, but they're going in this new direction where he's sort of this cult leader type. I will say that the Seth Rollins thing, if you want to compare it to something in AEW, obviously it would be the Dark Order. And the Dark Order, even though it's gotten, has more bodies involved and this whole look with the masks and this mass recruitment that's gone on, I would say the Seth Rollins thing, sort of starting small with just him and the one guy, and then slowly building, and we see this story play out during this show, is far more effective. And it could come down to something as simple as Seth Rollins is really ready to pull this off, and Brody Lee's still finding his way with his, my opinion. Seth in the suit looks great. Immediately owns up to losing to Drew McIntyre. That's another weird theme that we have, where we have the heels admitting that they've lost a big match in the recent past. It's really strange. And but again, it wouldn't be so strange if they all didn't do it. Randy Orton did it, and now Seth Rollins is doing it immediately. Again, just openly admitting and blunting their effectiveness. Like Jake Roberts used to always say when he was a heel, when he lost a big match, like when he lost that first big match to Steamboat, he said he just denied it. That way he could keep his heat and they could keep doing it. And I don't see any fallacy in that rationale at all. I just find it really strange that like Orton and Seth Rollins, who are supposed to be two of their biggest stars, immediately go like, yeah, I lost a match. And then Seth kind of takes the role of, with Rey Mysterio, it's unfortunate but necessary, I had to do this, and you're welcome that I did it. Again, a similar feel to Orton. All their top-level heels seem to have this similar feel. And again, it's the same as guys nowadays who seem like they wear the same gear or very similar gear as their opponents. There's just somebody not doing quality control. That was my number one note from this watching Raw and the WWE in general. Is there somebody doing quality control? Is there somebody making sure the same stories aren't being told repeatedly with different people, that the same looks aren't being copied by or very similar with people who are facing each other in a match? If you got Aleister Black, who's your guy, and he's a striking guy, and he's got a very simple look with black trunks, nobody else should be wearing black trunks. And maybe I'm being too harsh about that, but I don't think so. Okay, back on track here. So Humberto comes out, Rey's my idol. If Rey's your idol, then why aren't you rushing the ring and fucking swinging? Nobody makes logical choices. And again, if you want it where he's not swinging, then as he's storming down, you can have Seth Rollins stop him on the mic. Hold up. I know you want to avenge your idol, and here, I'm going to give you a chance to do it. That would be a much better way than him sort of easing his way to the ring when Seth Rollins is saying all this infuriating stuff, did all this horrible stuff, and yet this guy who loves Rey Mysterio is not going to come to just get vengeance immediately. It all comes across as very sterile and static and phony, right? So he's going to get to fight Murphy instead, who's Seth Rollins' guy. And then, and then Murphy beats him up. Okay, so we're going to have a match between those guys later. But then Aleister Black shows up. All right, That's a segment that works well enough. But again, it's just this idea that everything feels the same, looks the same, or too similar. But I will say that I like Seth Rollins in a suit, and I like where they're going with this, and I like the payoff that they did later on. It was unusual, and I think it worked their way out of problems. And when they're intersecting groups of people that seemingly have their own angle and merging them into Seth Rollins' thing, I think it is very effective. And it was a great way to set up the show. Again, I think this thing should have been the open. And I think they should have saved Orton and Edge for later on in the show, since their thing wasn't going to translate to the rest of the show.